I added 8 lifers to my life list in Central Texas and captured nice photo and video of exactly 0 of them. But I want to tell you about them anyway, and I'm a professional video editor, so I'm going to do what I do whenever I'm faced with a situation like this. Fix it in post. I wish that was a joke. What's going on, birders? I'm Zach, a Texas-based filmmaker on a journey to become a better birder, slowly. And look, I'm only human, and no human I know actually bats 100. Even my favorite bird photography channels encourage shooting with super high frame rates in hopes of capturing just that perfect moment of a bird, and even so, everyone misses sometimes. Sure, I've taken some decent photos over the last month, but in the case of the birds that I want to show you, I didn't even have my camera out for most of them. So in this video, I'm going to run you through my top 3 lifers from a recent camping trip in Central Texas, but instead of showing you photos and videos of those birds, I've made some cut paper animations to try and recreate those moments. Each one gets a little more complex, so be sure to watch them all and stick around to the end, where I'll provide an update on my goal of seeing 200 birds in 2026. Let's talk Central Texas. If you're from out of state, you probably know that Texas is huge, and that size, yes, means that there's lots of miles of highway, but also, it means that there's tons of different ecosystems and habitats across the state. At a macro level, the eastern half of the state kind of reflects the eastern United States, and the other half, the west. I'll go on record and say that I had to Google which Sibley guide to buy. It's the east, by the way, but it's actually a lot more nuanced than that. Of the 10 natural ecoregions in the state, I live on the border between the piney woods and Gulf Coast, so I'm typically birding in humid environments marked by either tall pine trees or bodies of water. But when I refer to Central Texas, the area I'm referring to is our state capital, Austin, and the sort of surrounding areas. The $10 word for this region is the Edwards Plateau, but the $5 word that everyone I know actually uses is hill country. The $5 word might not be accurate. Real estate's crazy out there. This part of the state is characterized by stony hills, springs, canyons. Notably, what stood out to me was that the trees are much shorter. Junipers, oaks, mesquite, making it home for a whole variety of birds that I'm likely never to see in my region. It's amazing how you can drive west on State Highway 290 and just slowly watch the environment around you change. Peak Texas road tripping. During our long ride out there was when we spotted the first lifer that I want to tell you about. We're blowing down 290 at like
the speed limit
miles an hour and making decent time towards camp when I hear Ruby say, "What's that?" I look up, and slowly rising in the air is a hawk. My mind immediately starts trying to grab field marks. Large bird, buteo tail, mostly dark, scrum stripes on the tail, but most notably huge white patches on its wings, something I hadn't seen yet before. This guy buzzed around in air for maybe about a minute before we finally got beyond him, and I think it was good for a Swainson's hawk. Great way to start the trip. After settling into camp and having a great German Texas dinner, we popped down to Pedernales Falls State Park the next day to do a little bit of hiking and sightseeing. Pedernales. I've heard white Texans say both, but it's a Spanish for it, so I'm assuming it'd be Pedernales, but I'm an Asian guy. Don't take my word for it. Anyway, if you've been watching the channel, you know that I'm not a real target birds kind of guy. But the next bird, the golden cheek warbler, is literally printed on the park map, and they're currently breeding, so I had to get it. Golden cheek warblers are beautiful, small, endangered birds that only breed in Texas. And for that reason, there's a decent group of naturists that think they deserve to be our state bird. Not me. Check out my pick in the video here. Regardless of that, they are really, really neat little birds to see and hear. Their song is literally to the tune of La Cucaracha. After listening and looking and looking and listening, I heard the call a ton and even saw some small glimpses of tiny birds flitting around in the area where I was hearing the call from, but I was getting pretty disappointed. Eventually, as I peered across the vista, not even looking for it, right in front of me bobbed this beautiful little yellow face and black body. Score. Golden cheek warbler. Before I show you this last bird recreation, I want to give honorable mention to the other lifers that I saw. B-Rex wrens were super abundant, and it was neat to see a different noisy gray bird than a mockingbird. Black-chin hummingbirds also zipped around the campsite a pretty good amount, but somehow only when I had food in my hands or was drinking coffee or watching the kids. Then there were also lark sparrows, lesser goldfinches, and black crested titmice, which are all common for hill country, but would be harder to see out where I live. Alright, so the last story starts the same way as the first one. I'm sitting in the front seat of the car, getting settled in for the long drive home while Ruby buckles up our son. Suddenly I hear her say, "What's that?" I look up, and off in the distance between these 2 trees, I see another large bird in flight with a dark body and wings with white wingtips. It sounds similar to a vulture, but this one has a tan neck and a yellow-orange face with a huge blue-gray bill. It's unmistakably a bird I've had my eye out for a very long time. The Crested Caracara. Crested Caracaras might look like hawks, but they're actually falcons. There are differences between hawks and falcons that I won't really get into right now, but the point I want to get across here is that nature is weird because when it comes to the Crested Caracara, things get a little muddy. Hawks are the generally larger family of birds, larger meaning physically, but the Crested Caracara is relatively large for a falcon, so that doesn't help. And then hawks also build nests and falcons don't, except for the Crested Caracara. Neither one of these broken rules would have necessarily helped contribute to IDing this bird, but they're fun facts that you could tell at your next party, I guess. These 8 species, plus a few first of years, have brought my year list up from 70 in my last video to 83 now, and I'm stoked on that. Although, as I approach the 100 mark, I'm gonna have to get a lot more intentional about getting out and finding more lifers. My current life list is at 123, so even if I fully match my last few years of birding, I'd have to see 77 new species by the end of the year. And I'd love it if you follow along with me on that journey, so hit the subscribe button below to tell the algorithm that it should suggest my videos to you as they're released. Finally, let's talk. Get in the comments and let me know if you trust my IDs of these birds based on their descriptions. None of these birds are rarities for hill country, so an eBird reviewer is likely to never know to even question them, but I want to know what you think. And if you don't have a horse in the race, just tell me what you've seen lately. I'd love to hear. Well, that's all I got. I'll see you in the next one. And in case you're wondering how I made these, I drew and cut everything by hand, scanned all the individual pieces, and composited them in After Effects. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.